Good afternoon. Excuse me. Good afternoon. It is Tuesday and we have had a storm here at the house. It has rained hard, thunder and lightning. Goodness gracious, it was rough there for a while. But I'm glad that's passed on. I think it's cleared off for the rest of the day. I hope so anyway. I hope y'all have stayed safe. Lori and I coming home from Bible study last night in Greenville, and it had stormed while we were at church. And on the way home, we noticed several places where big limbs had fallen in the road, and they had already had to clean it off. So I was thankful for that didn't slow us up. But we get some good rain, and I'm hoping that's building the water tables back up. I don't know where we stand. I haven't heard that on the weather, but I know we must need it or we wouldn't be getting it. So anyway, today I'm going to read Matthew chapter 16. And the first section is titled, The Pharisees and Sadducees Demand Signs. And the Pharisees and Sadducees came, and to test him, they asked him to show them a sign from heaven. He answered them, When it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be stormy today, for the sky is red and threatening. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. An evil and adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah. So he left them and departed. And the next section is titled, The Leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. When the disciples reached the other side, they had forgotten to bring any bread. Jesus said to them, Watch and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Now, let me say this. I know you may have heard me talk about this before. Several years, Randy and I participated in the Daniel fast along with other people at the church where we attended, and that involved you did not eat meat, you did not eat or drink dairy, which was, cheese, milk, that kind of thing. You did not drink anything but water, no coffee, no juice, anything like that, no tea. You did not eat white rice. You could eat brown rice, but not white rice. And let's see, there was no meat, no dairy, no white rice, no drinks of any kind other than water. Oh, and no yeast. You couldn't have anything leavened. And part of the reason for that was that there's nothing wrong with leavening in itself. It is there for a purpose. But part of the reason for that was, and this was something that I kind of studied and felt like the Lord showed me, I don't know if you've ever made bread before, but if you put yeast or if you put baking soda or baking powder, that makes the bread rise. Well, first of all, it makes it rise and puffs it up. And we have to be careful to keep things out of our life that want us to be puffed up and self-important. So that was one thing. And the other thing is, normally, if you use leavening, you have to wait. You can't immediately. I know with yeast, especially if you're making a yeast bread, you have to let the yeast, or the way I do it is you put it in water and a little bit of sugar, and it proofs it, and then you put it in the flour and you do some things, and you let the dough rise, and then you punch it down, you let it rise again. So it's not like you can make bread in 10 minutes. It takes a good bit of the afternoon. So there's time involved. You can't immediately do things. You have to wait. And I know sometimes the Lord asks us to wait, but sometimes when he tells you to do something, he needs for you to do it right now. Do it right now, to be obedient. So I felt like that was one of the reasons that I had to avoid yeast leavening, was because I didn't need to be puffed up with my own self-importance, and I didn't need to wait when God told me to do something. Now, I'm sure if you were to study that, you would probably come up with something totally different. That was just what the Lord was dealing with me about. So, when he was talking about the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they were very self-proud. They were proud of who they were, and that they weren't like other people who did bad things. They considered themselves sinless, I'm assuming. And so Jesus wanted his disciples to stay away from that. So it says, watch and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Okay. And they began discussing it among themselves, saying, we brought no bread. But Jesus, aware of this, said, O you of little faith, why are you discussing among yourselves the fact that you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive? Do you not remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000, and how many baskets you gathered? Or the 7 loaves for the 4,000, and how many baskets you gathered? Do y'all remember? In one, there were 12 baskets left over, and in the other one, I think it was 5 baskets left over. It was a lot. I mean, to me, that showed that there was more than enough. Jesus is more than enough than what we need. Verse 11, how is it that you fail to understand that I did not speak about bread? Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven of bread, but of the teaching of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And the next section is titled, Peter Confesses Jesus at the Christ. And I'm going to tell you before I read this, I have a problem with the way some people interpret this, and I'm going to tell you what I think. It's not to say it's right or wrong, it's just the way that it seems when I've studied and prayed over it, this is the way that it makes sense to me so I can settle my mind. Now, when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say that the Son of Man is? And they said, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. He said to them, but who do you say that I am? Simon Peter replied, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And that was the truth. That was the whole truth right there. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answered him, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Okay, so now here's where I have the problem. Some people consider that Peter was the foundation of the church. Peter is considered to be the first pope for the Catholic Church, and I'm not going to get into that. I do not believe that Peter, the human man, is considered the foundation. To me, if Jesus is not the foundation of the church that you serve, I don't see how you can call yourself a Christian. Christ is the foundation. So when Peter said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God, he was saying that he had faith that Jesus was who he said he was. That can be the foundation, but not. We don't need to base our church on a man, because he failed just as miserably as some of the rest of us do. Now again, that's what I have come up with in studying and praying and struggling with this for a long time, because I know the things that are in the Bible are true, and if it's something doesn't make sense, it's not there's something wrong with the Bible, it's somewhere wrong with me that I'm not getting something. So that is how I understand it. The faith that Peter had that Jesus was the Son of God and the Christ, the Son of the living God, that was the foundation. That is the rock on which we build the church. Because Jesus is the cornerstone, if y'all will remember. Okay, so let me read that again. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Now down here in the bottom it says, okay, the Greek words for Peter and rock sound similar. And I did have somebody say one time that the word for Peter is Petra, which means pebble, a tiny like gravel, and rock was a boulder. So Jesus was saying, Peter, you are a part of things. You are a little part. You are a pebble, but the rock is the boulder that the church is built on. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." Then he strictly charged the disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ. Now, why is that? Why did he say don't tell anyone? Maybe for this time, not to say that he's not Jesus, but don't tell I'm the Christ right now. It's not time yet. And then the next section is titled Jesus Foretells His Death and Resurrection. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and the chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord, this shall never happen to you." But he turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me." Now, Jesus was saying that Satan was using Peter to do that, because we know what would have happened if Jesus had not died on the cross. We'd all bust hell wide open. Jesus had to die to be the perfect sacrifice for us, because we are not good enough. We are not smart enough or good looking enough. Or we don't give enough. We don't work hard enough. We're not righteous enough. None of that. On our own terms, we are nothing. We cannot do it ourselves. We have to depend on Jesus. So Satan was trying to tempt Jesus into saying they're good on their own. I don't have to. But he said it to Satan, who was tempting Peter. But he turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man." And we could all take a note from that when things start coming against us and causing us to have thoughts that are not righteous thoughts, get behind me. I'm not dealing with that. Okay, and then the next section is titled, "Take up your cross and follow Jesus." Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Truly, I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." Now, there are people who think that meant some of the disciples would not die, but would live years and years and years until Jesus comes again. And I don't know if that's what that means or not. But you know what? It doesn't matter to me. It's not affecting my salvation. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that I find interesting, and I like studying, and I like knowing what it means. But the main thing I have to keep in mind for myself, if there's some little, what word am I looking for? Some little tradition that one church does that another church doesn't do, and people want to argue over it, don't argue over it. Listen, the main thing, we need to keep the main thing, and that is how we can get saved, how we can help others be saved by bringing them to Jesus and sharing the gospel with them, and all those other little ticky things. That doesn't matter. That's not going to affect your salvation. If you're living differently because you think it makes a difference, whether you take up the offering before or after the sermon, you need to re-examine things and figure out why that's such a stopping place with you. And it's that way with any kind of tradition. If we need to follow what Jesus says as closely as possible, and that's the main thing. We need to remember who we are and who we belong to, and we need to keep our minds on Christ. Now, saying that's the end of that chapter. I hope y'all, if you don't have a good church home, I have got several that I can suggest to you. Mine is Excellence Lifeline in Greenville, and I love it. But I will tell you this, my daughter goes to a church called High Praise in Crestview, and that preacher will tell you we're not for everybody. There's not room in the church for everybody in Crestview. There's not room in Lifeline Church for everybody in Greenville. Everybody is not going to get their needs met in the same way at the same church. If you like well, I'm not going to get into that. You just need to pray and let the Lord lead you to where you need to be. And if you are in a church that is not preaching the truth, then you need to talk to God and let Him show you where you need to be. You don't need to say, well, I'm just not going to church. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't let some silly mess come between you and Jesus. Make sure that you're right with Jesus and get in a church. And part of that, it's not just because it's good for you, but it's good for the church. Who knows but what there's a need in a church that you could meet because you're there, just because you're there. I'm a part of the kids ministry team at Lifeline. There's about 10 or 12 of us. And we have the best time working and teaching those kids. We've got a group that meets on Wednesday night, and then we've got a different group it's the same kids but different leaders on Sunday morning. Well, generally we have the same lesson. Like we might have it Wednesday night and then Sunday morning, or it might be Sunday night and Wednesday morning. Sunday morning and Wednesday night. But it's the same lesson twice, and the reason we do that is it reinforces that. And listen, when the kids have had a lesson on Wednesday night and then I have them on Sunday morning and we're going over that same lesson, they love telling me what they've learned. It's not they have never told me they were bored. They love being able to, they know what the questions are and they know what the answers are. And they love telling me, and they tell me stuff that they've learned somewhere else, not just in our services, but other places. And that's what it's all about, is getting the kids excited and getting them to where they want to be there. We have a good time, we learn, they do crafts, they have a Bible story, they do activities. They have more time on Wednesday night, but they're having a good time, and we're having a good time because of it. And listen, some Sunday mornings all we get done is the Bible story, and sometimes we get more than that done. But we are investing in those kids. I've told several people, I want those children to have a grasp of who most of the adults in church are. I want them to know that there's Miss Becky over there and I can go talk to her if I've got a problem. Or there's Miss Lori over there and I need to ask her about praying for me. Or there's Miss Tiffany or Miss Amanda or Miss Misty. We've got Miss Bridget. I want those kids to know the adults so that they know that they are loved and that they have got a family in church that they can trust. And I love being a part of that. And if you will get involved in a church, there's something you can do. It might not be kids ministry. You may not want to deal with children. You may not want to deal with young people. You may be a behind the scenes person that helps in the kitchen or helps with the cleaning crew or helps to make sure that the things that need to be in the sanctuary are where they need to be. Or maybe you want to be on the prayer team. There are lots of different areas that you can serve. But when you're a part of the church, you need to let the church be a part of you. And some of the way to do that is get to know people, attend services, attend the extra stuff, and get involved. Okay, so now that's my commercial for church. If you need help finding a good church, message me and I'll give you my phone number and we can talk and we'll figure out some good places to start. But anyway, thank y'all for joining me, and I will see y'all tomorrow. And if we have more rough weather, y'all please be safe.